Hello, my name is Goodness Arinze Okafor, and this is my presentation on JavaScript's manipulation of the DOM. First off, let's take a look at what the DOM is. The Documents Object Model, otherwise known as the DOM, is a programming interface for web documents. This interface provides a structured representation of HTML documents as a tree, where each branch represents a part of the document, such as its elements, attributes, and text. What does the DOM do? The DOM typically serves as an intermediary between web content and scripts, allowing programming languages like JavaScript dynamically access and update the content and structures of web documents. In simpler terms, it's a way for scripts to interact with content of the web pages, allowing a more dynamic and interactive experience for users. How does the DOM work? When a browser loads a HTML document, it parses the documents and constructs what we call the DOM tree. Each element in the HTML document becomes a branch or a node in the DOM tree, with attributes and child nodes representing its content and its structure. This hierarchical structure makes it easy for developers to navigate, assess, and manipulate elements within the documents using scripting languages like JavaScript. Here we have a simplified example of the DOM tree, where we have the document object itself, the root element as a branch in the DOM tree, and all other tags and attributes as related to the document object. Why is the DOM important? The DOM is fundamental to modern web development, as it enables a more dynamic and interactive web page without the need to reload the web page every time you need to see something new. It forms the backbone of many front-end web technologies and frameworks, facilitating the creation of more responsive, interactive, and user-friendly websites and web applications. Understanding how to effectively manipulate the DOM is crucial for building modern web experiences. This ranges from simple scripts to more complex single-page applications. In summary, the DOM is a vital concept in front-end web development, serving as a bridge between static web content and a more dynamic web content, empowering us developers to create a more engaging and interactive web experiences for our users. How do we manipulate and assess DOM elements? DOM elements can be assessed using multiple different means, using methods like getElementById, class names, tag names, query selectors, and query selector all are some of the ways we can dynamically assess elements from the HTML documents. Ideally, it is required and in accordance to best practice to use query selector and query selector all when selecting HTML elements. Once you have accessed your desired elements, you can easily manipulate them in various ways, such as adding, removing, or modifying their attributes and contents. To make this more understandable, I would like us to have a little example on how we can easily manipulate the DOM. Open here in VS Code is my HTML document with my standard HTML markup, a H1 element, and a button with the ID of my button. And open on my browser is the rendering of this web page. For styling, I have a simple styling on the body, button, and the hover state of the button. And I have an empty JavaScript file. Now in this JavaScript file, I would first of all reference the document objects, adding an event listener for when the DOM content is loaded. Here I can create an arrow function where I can instantiate a variable called my button by referencing the document objects and selecting my ID of my button. It'd help if I could type. Good. Now over here, I'm going to add an event listener to my button where once it's clicked, the following function is going to run. And in this function, I'm going to instantiate yet another variable called random color. Now do note the purpose of this web page is to change the background color of this page once the button is clicked. So by creating this variable random color, I am going to add a template string and use the RGB, where I can dynamically insert certain methods like the mat.floor. In it, I'm going to have the mat.random, and I multiply it by 256. Now what this does is we have the mat.random method generating a random floating point number between 0 and 1, and I am multiplying it by 256. Reasons why is because I want the valid numbers for RGB colors is between 0 and 255. So this is including 0 and excluding 256. So this ensures that the random integer generated and multiplied by 256 remains within the bounds of 0 and 255. And I have the mat.floor functions, which rounds this down to be an integer rather than a floating point number. So I'm going to need 3 of these for this to work. So I'm going to have another, okay, would help if I could type any faster. Mat.floor, this rounds it down. Mat.random, this selects a random integer between 0, the random floating point number between 0 and 1. We multiply that by 256, and we do it one more time. So we have this, mat.floor, mat.random, multiplied by 256. Good. Now once we've done that, we once again reference the documents object, and we select the body, and then we style the body. Okay, I think I'm having an error here. I have an extra D, doesn't want to be left out. Document.body.style.background color, and I set it equal to the random color variable. Now what this does is, once the DOM contents are loaded, this function runs where a variable myButton is created, which references this particular button in the HTML document, and an event listener is added to that button, wherein once it's clicked, it runs this function that generates a random color every time it's clicked, and it applies that random color to the style of the body. So we can test that out here, and we can see that as I click the button, the color randomly changes to a random color every time. Now this is one way we can modify the document objects using JavaScript, by selecting elements, IDs, attributes from the document objects and styling them with JavaScript however we please. Now in summary, the document object model serves as a very crucial reference interface for web development, providing a structured representation of our HTML documents, as we stated earlier, using the DOM tree. And it enables us to use languages like JavaScript to dynamically manipulate the content, structure, and styles of these web pages, facilitating a more interactive and responsive design a responsive and interactive design experience for our users. And with this comes the end of my presentation. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.